This program is part of the Devil's Mark Podcast Network, the official podcast network of Shadow Path Diabolism.
This is the Dark Illumination Report podcast for Wednesday, September 9th, 2020. On today's episode, we're going to continue our discussion about the nature of demons and the way Shadow Path Diabolism regards them.
This is the Dark Illumination Report podcast, the official podcast of Shadow Path Diabolism, your daily dose of Diabolonian philosophy to inspire you on your journey down the crooked shadow path. Here's your host, R.J. Womack, Brother Nero.
Hey everybody, this is R.J. Womack. Thanks for joining me for another episode of the podcast. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about the nature of demons and continue our discussion about how Shadow Path Diabolism regards them. The first thing I want to talk about today is this idea that demons are somehow animalistic or chaotic or kind of like what you see in the Hollywood movies. Now, can they be chaotic? Yes. Do they have a chaotic energy? They can. Can they act in a vicious way? Yes. Can they possess their followers? Yes, they can. Do they possess their followers? Yes, they do occasionally, but it's very rare. Most of the time, they do consensual types of channeling, is how I'll put it. And before I continue on, I want to say something about this. Now, I don't want to act like, the demons come by my house and we have tea together every day and I talk to them like I'm talking to you. All of these experiences that I'm talking to you about are experiences that I've collected over 40 years of doing this. So you're hearing a condensed version of my life history, and all of this has happened to me over the course of my life. So it's not like Satan pops by every week to talk to me about how he feels about things, or the demons come by and we have a chat or something. It's not like that. These are a collection of experiences I've experienced over a lifetime. So just be aware of that. I don't want to give a false impression. I don't want to create the idea that I'm trying to act like me and Satan are like best buds and he calls me on the celestial cell phone or something every week, because a lot of people will try to present that image. They'll present the image that they're always in constant contact with Satan and that his presence is always around. That's just simply not true for anyone. And that's simply not true for anyone I know anyway, and certainly not myself. So I don't want to give anybody the false impression of anything like that. So because I'm trying to be as honest as I can be with you here on this podcast, and I'm trying to be as helpful as I can be. And as with all things, I'll put this disclaimer out there again. These are my experiences. Your experiences may be different. Your experiences may have a different effect on you, but generally, these are what I've experienced through firsthand practice or through the practice of other people or the accounts of practice of other people that I've known. So as long as we make that clear, everything's cool. But the idea that they're somehow evil entities that are animalistic and incapable of higher thought is just ridiculous. And my experiences dealing with the demons and the experiences of other people I've known are that they're very intelligent. They're superior in intelligence to mankind, and they know things that we don't know. And they're very calculating. They're very calm. They're very controlled. Everything they do is deliberate. Even in the things that seem chaotic or wild, they're very deliberate. Everything they do is with a reason. They don't just do random stuff. They don't let their emotions control them. They're not drawn in by childish things. And if they do something that seems somewhat human or petty or childish, it's because they're trying to get a point across or trying to accomplish a goal. And who knows what that goal is. It depends on the circumstances. It depends on the individual. But don't think for a minute that demons don't know exactly what they're doing and don't have a reason for everything that they do. It's one of the reasons why part of the philosophy of Shadow Path Diabolism is this idea of discipline, and self-mastery and all of these ideas, because we learn from them. They are disciplined, they are devoted, and they have self-mastery over themselves and their emotions. And that's kind of the core philosophy or the core principles of Shadow Path Diabolism is discipline, devotion, and self-mastery. Be the master of your own destiny. Be the architect of your own destiny. And when I say that, don't think that I'm excluding the gods from that conversation, because I take into account that the hand of fate, the hand of the gods, kind of pushes us along on our path. They kind of guide our journey, even if it's in a subtle way. So the hand of the gods, the hands of destiny, the hands of fate, or your personal orlog, if you want to put it that way, and weird, is always in effect. It's always having an impact on your life. But you have a lot of control over your life, even though the gods may have control somewhat. You ultimately have control over yourself and what you do, and whether you choose to follow the gods or not. There are very few instances or very few circumstances where the gods, the demons, whatever name you call them by, will impose their will and force you to do things against your will. These ideas are Christian ideas. They're silly ideas. They're not true. And these images of the demons being this out of control, or these out of control animalistic entities, is just nonsense created by Hollywood or Christian ministers. It's just not true, or at least in my experience, it hasn't been proven to be true. So I just want to put that out there for anybody who might be wondering that. And as I said, with everything I say here, it's just an opinion. It's just my opinion. It doesn't mean it's the absolute rule. It doesn't mean your experiences will be the same. It doesn't mean my way is the only way to look at things. And I keep saying that because I don't want anybody in this community to think that I'm saying, my way is the right way and your way is the wrong way, or my way is the law and there is no other way to be. I'm not trying to say that. I'm not trying to come across that way. And like I said, ultimately, you have to make the choice of how valuable you think my advice is. And it's ultimately up to you. I'm just providing ministry. And then you choose to use that ministry or that advice or that sermon, if you will, in whatever way you choose, in whatever way you choose to apply it to your life and your practices. I'm just doing my job by delivering a message. And I'm doing what I promised Satan I would do. And whatever you do with that message is up to you. And I know I'm repeating myself on this podcast about that one issue, but I think it's so important to stress it every chance I get that ultimately, whatever you do is between you and Satan. And these are just advice. This is just advice. It's just guidelines. It's just some helpful hints from somebody who maybe has done this longer than you. That's it. Okay? So I hope that helps somebody. I hope the advice is useful to someone out there. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to write me at brothernero1593@gmail.com.
If you would like to learn more about the Shadow Path Diabolism tradition of occultism, go to rjwomack.com. That's rjwomack.com. If you enjoyed this podcast and support our message, tell a friend, leave us a review, and follow us on social media.